All right, guys. Hey, welcome to the Sky's the Limit call. My name is Stephen Yee. Today, I'm going to be going over the 8 key pieces of a successful sales presentation. Without these things, I think you can easily be missing out on a ton of sales. One of the things that I'll kind of go into about this was, I sold a lot of insurance face to face. And when I started to transition and try to sell some insurance virtually, all the things that I kept hearing were, hey, it's different. The virtual sales game is a lot different than the face-to-face game. And now that I've done both, I don't think that to be true at all, to tell you the truth. What I can tell you is there's key components of things that you must do. And if you don't do those very things, then yes, it can be very, very difficult, right? You have different challenges on the phone compared to you will face-to-face. I'm not going to disagree with you there. But I also think that if you understand the key components of what you're supposed to do, then it's going to work regardless, right? One of the things that I want you guys to understand at the end of the day is people need to be led. I'm very big on understanding that, hey, control is such a big deal in what we do. And if you don't control the conversation with your client and the client can take you and guide you wherever you want, that's where we're going to have a lot of missed sales, right? So for those of you that don't know my story, I got started here in 2018. My first 14 appointments, I sold nobody, like literally nobody, right? Every single one of my clients I built phenomenal rapport with, right? Every single one of them were like, hey, come on over for the barbecue on Saturday because we love you so much. If we're going to buy any insurance, it's going to be definitely from you. And so I thought we were in like a sales position or a customer service position where I had to be this nice person, right? Not saying that I'm not going to be nice to a client, especially in their own home or on the phone, whatever it may be. But I learned really quickly after having all those no sales that everybody kept telling me that they needed to think about it. They were never going to make a decision and they weren't going to allow me to basically be their agent, right? And so what happened was I drove up north to Northern California. I ran insurance with a buddy of mine. The guy that actually recruited and hired me, named Joe Miller. And Joe was really good at selling insurance. And Joe said, you know what? Let me see you do it first. And I ran an appointment. I did what I thought I was supposed to do. And I said, hey, out of the 3 options that I showed you, which one do you like best? And the client goes, none of them. And I start to proceed to pack my bags. And Joe goes, sorry, man. Hey, he's brand new. He doesn't know what he's doing. Slide over, Steve. He says something for 30 seconds. And the guy goes, that makes sense. I'll take this one. And I'm sitting there like fuming, right? Like, okay, there's something that I'm not doing here. And I need to know if it was luck that he sold that client or I would have went 0 for 15, right? And so I'm doing the application, but at that time, we didn't have computers, like at least e-apps. So what we did was everything was like physically handwritten application. So we're doing the application and, on the way to the next appointment, I'm quiet in the car. I'm riding with Joe. I'm not saying a word. I'm pissed. And so we get to the next client, okay? And we sit down. I do the entire presentation. And I go, hey, out of the 3 options that I showed you, which one do you like best? And the client said the same thing. None of them. I go, okay, I'm going to get ready to proceed and pack my bags. And sure enough, Joe goes, hey, sorry, man, he's brand new. He doesn't know what he's doing. Slide over, Steve. Hey, and he said some things for like 30 seconds. The guy goes, that makes sense. I'll take the biggest one, the number 1 option, right? And so I'm filling out the application and now I'm fuming because it's not, I can't say it's me, right? Although I want to blame somebody. I can't say like the leads suck, my presentation isn't good, whatever it is. So I'm done with the application. We get into the car and I'm like, all right, dude, what am I doing wrong? He goes, there's 2 things. Number 1, you have 0 structure. And then number 2, you have no reason for them to buy insurance from you. You haven't established a need or a reason why for them to buy insurance from you. And I go, okay. He goes, these next appointments, I'm going to do them. And I want you to take notes on my presentation on what I do. So absolutely, right? So the next 2-3 appointments, I have a white paper pad out and I'm like, all right, step by step, literally going, all right, we knock on the door. Joe says this. We get to the table. He shows them this. First opening line, he says this. Next thing, he says this. This is where he hands them. Like I went step by step through the entire presentation 2 times And I looked at it side by side, and I realized at that moment it was identical, right? And it was it was right when I got there that I quickly learned that your sales presentation is a Broadway show, in my opinion, right? It's not a movie, because a movie plays the same no matter what, right? It's a Broadway show. And what I mean by that is the presentation's the same. The show is the same. It doesn't matter if you watch Hamilton on Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. It's the same Hamilton. The only thing that changes is the people in the audience. And so the presentation structure is the same in everything that we do. The only thing that changes is the person that we're sitting in front of, right? And so once I learned that and I was able to like zero in on the stuff that I didn't know what I was doing, I started closing at a higher clip. I got back from that trip. The next 10 clients I saw, every single one of them bought insurance. And I'm not saying that to brag or whatever it was. I didn't know that I had that issue. And until I was able to point it out because someone else was able to see it and tell me what it was, then I was able to go fix it, right? Today, what we're going to talk about is those presentation structural key components that I was missing. I'm going to literally break it down from top down. We're going to probably go through the entire presentation. If you have any notes or if you have any questions, don't drop them in the chat because I'm not going to read them. Drop them in the Q&A, okay? And we'll literally go through every single one of those because at the end of the day, if you're not closing business, it's either usually one of two things. It's either you don't have enough leads or appointment, or number two, there's something in your presentation that you're saying or you're not saying sometimes that is literally hurting you, okay? So we're going to break that down. The other thing I'm going to talk about too is if you take, and we've done this, by the way, if you take all the Hall of Fame producers, right, all the producers here at Family First Life that protect over 400 families a year and more, and you listen to them talk about their in-home presentation or you watch it, here's what I can share with you. All 8 of these things are in their presentation. Now, they might not say the same exact word that you will say. They might not say it in the same order that you will say. But here's what I can tell you. They have all 8 components in their presentation. We're going to go over that today. If you have any questions, feel free to, like I said, drop them in the Q&A, okay? This is not a script, by the way. This has 0 personality. It is a guideline. These are guidelines. These are things that you should do. Doesn't mean you have to do. It's not a mandatory, but I would if you want to sell a lot of insurance. And these are my words, right? These are my quote unquote scripts, or this is how I would say the information. It's not the same as some of you guys and how you would say, and it's okay. It's perfectly fine. So let's dive into it. So the 8 steps or the 8 key pieces of a successful presentation structure. So number 1, part 1 is who you are and why you're there. Okay. So many times the way when I was brand new and I started booking appointments, I was like, all right, I have my leads. I called them. I scheduled some appointments. Now what? Okay. When I get to the door, when I call them on the phone, what do I say? How do I introduce myself? How much credibility do I need to establish? What things am I going to show them? And like Andrew Taylor gave me the best answer of all time. He goes, you go, John, my name is Steven. We have an appointment at 3 for mortgage protection. I go, that's it. I can do that. Right? Like I can do that piece. And so when I make phone calls to clients and I'm doing virtual sales, phone calls, I go, hey, John, my name is Steven. I'm calling from the mortgage protection office. We have an appointment at 3 to go over your options with you. And I go, I'm the field underwriter that's assigned to your case and to help to, pay off the house in case of a death or disability. And it's going to take me 15 to 20 minutes. Do you have time to go over that right now? It's who I am, where I'm calling from, and why am I there, right? If I'm doing final expense, it's going to sound like this. Hey, Mary, my name is Steven. I'm calling from the senior benefits office here in, Clark County, Nevada. I'm the field underwriter that's assigned to your case to go over your funeral and burial options. Do you have 15 or 20 minutes to go over those options right now? She's going to say yes or no. If she says yes, I'm doing the presentation. If she says no, it is what it is. I'm going to the next one, right? Or I'm going to reschedule it for later. So the things that I want you to write down in part 1, okay? Who you are and why you're there. Part 1 is going to be, well, what's your name and who do you represent, right? So once again, hey, John, my name is Steven, calling from the Senior Benefit Center or the Mortgage Protection Office. That's it, right? Number 2, I'm the field underwriter that's assigned to your case to take care of funeral and burial or pay off the house in case of a death or disability. right? Number three, it's going to take 10 or 15 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. Do you have time to do that right now? That's it. It ain't that deep. And the other thing too is you're going, well, that's very bland. I know, right? Bland works, bland duplicates. Because here's the thing, if let's say Kevin Hart was selling insurance and he was really funny and all his clients bought insurance because how funny it was, I wouldn't be able to sell insurance because I'm not funny. Does that make sense? Because that's personality. Now, if I gave you script and said you say these things at these times, and if you have some personality, if you think you're funny and you want to throw a little bit of jokes in there, then go have at it. But if you don't, you can still protect 2, 3, 4, 500 families a year easily, right? So we're going to remove the personality out because every single one of us on this call is completely different. The way you might tell a joke is going to be different than the joke that I tell. I'll tell you one of the jokes I tell. For those of you that don't know, I'm Asian, okay? And so like when I used to sell accidental death, I would always say, hey, so just in case myself or any of my relatives are on the road and we're driving, it's not you that you should be worried about, it's us, right? And they start laughing because they're like, oh, Asian driver, ha, 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 ha. Right, but if you're not Asian, you can't tell that joke. Does that make sense? Like, and so like, that's my joke. That's my personality. That's not yours. You find something that works for you or don't use it at all because you don't have to tell a joke. Does that make sense? So that's part one, who you are and why you're there. Now, number two is important. If I looked at most brand new agents and go, that's why they don't sell insurance, it's probably this thing right here. Okay. This is the guidance. This is the roadmap. This is the blueprint, whatever you want to call it. Okay. In our sales position, we call it setting the table. And what setting the table means is we're going to tell the client, this is what we're going to do today. And then we're actually going to do it. Right. Most people don't sell any insurance because they don't tell their client ahead of time, hey, you're going to buy insurance from me today. Most people don't. Most people go, hey, my name is Steven. I have an appointment with you for, final expense. Okay, cool. All right, Mary, how young are you? Okay, Mary, these are 3 options. Which one do you want? She goes, this one. Go, okay, cool. We're going to submit the application today. And she's like, I didn't know I needed to buy. Well, to her degree, it's factual. She didn't know she needed to buy because you never told her that she was going to make a decision today, right? Setting the table is a big deal. Everybody does it differently. These are my 5 points to setting the table. I think it's very simple. I'm going to give you statements. You can mix them around, do it however you please, but you have to do it. All right. So, number one, Mary, I'm going to spend 5 minutes to ask you questions regarding your health and finance. Why? Because I'm going to do a financial inventory, and that's what we're going to do. Right? We're going to break down her budget. We're going to see what health she has to see what she's qualified for. Okay. Number two, we'll submit those answers to the 30 insurance companies that I work with, and I'll make them compete for your business. Now, why am I saying that? Because if you're a top producer, you'll quickly realize the best way to not get objections is by saying it first, right? For those of you that go, hey, some of my clients tell me that they're going to go shop. They're going to go, oh, thank you for what you showed me, Bob, but I'm going to go talk to another guy. Well, the reason why he thinks he can talk to another guy is because you never told him that you're going to do the shopping for him, right? And then the other piece too that most people don't understand is, we don't all work for the same companies. There's a lot of captive companies out there. There's a lot of agents out there that work for one insurance company, 2, 3, 4, 5 max. We work with 30, like legitimately. And so we can put our clients in a better situation than most other companies can, period. And if you don't tell your clients that, they don't know. You can't expect them to know, right? So one of the things I'm going to tell them to eliminate the shopping objection is, all right, Mary, once again, I'm going to spend about 5 minutes to ask you some questions regarding your health and finance. After that, I'm going to take those answers and I'm going to give it to the top 30 insurance companies that we work with, and I'm going to make them all compete for your business. Why? Because people want to make sure that they're getting the best rates, right? Number 3, they're going to spit out 2 to 3 different options for me. Number 4, once I get those options, I'm going to explain the features and the benefits to you. Okay. So number 3, is after they compete for your business, they're going to give me 2 to 3 options. Why? Because I'm going to give you selection. Most people want a selection, right? 2 is plenty, 3 is more than enough, right? 4, you're pushing it, right? I would never show 4 options in a home. You're going to confuse the heck out of a client. I think they should get more than 1 though, but that's just me, right? So we're going to get 2 to 3 different options, Mary. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to explain the features and the benefits of these options to you so you understand. And then last but not least, if you like what you hear, you can apply for the coverage. If you don't, we'll decline it and I'll be in and out of your hair within 15, 20 minutes. How does that sound? She goes, great. If she agrees to my process, I can proceed. If she does not agree to my process, guess what? At the end, when I ask her to buy and she goes, I'm not going to buy because she was never told to buy, right? Then why am I shocked that she didn't buy? Does that make sense? So once again, the 5 things when it comes to setting the table. Number 1, I'm going to spend 5 minutes asking you questions regarding your health and finance. Number 2, we're going to take all those answers. We're going to submit it to the 30 different insurance companies that I work with, and I'm going to make them compete for your business. Okay. Number 3, they'll spit out 2 to 3 different options for you. Number 4, I'm going to explain the features and benefits of all those options. And then number 5, if you like what you hear, you can apply for the coverage. If not, you'll decline it and we'll be in and out of your hair within the next 15, 20 minutes. Okay. How's that sound? Sounds great. Perfect. Now, boom. Part 3. Now we're going to go into financial inventory. Now we're going to actually do the very thing we told her that we were going to do, right? So the third step, the third key piece is the actual financial inventory. Now you're going, why do we need this paper? Because it gives you, number 1, it gives the client clarity and it gives you clarity, but it also gives you a reason to ask the questions, right? A lot of companies that I've seen, especially our quote unquote competitors, their needs analysis, fact finding, financial inventory, whatever you want to call it, is 10, 15, 20 pages. You don't need all that. We have a 1-pager and it works plenty. Does that make sense? And so like in that thing, in the financial inventory, here's what I can tell you. Every Hall of Fame producer, every top producer at Family First Life, use this one. I can promise you that. There's a lot of people that struggle selling insurance because they have zero structure, once again, right? And it's because they don't use the financial inventory. They ask questions that they think they want to ask, but it's not the actual proper questions. So now they're guessing with their clients. I'm not going to do that, right? We're going to have a set of questions that we're going to ask. Usually, if it's final expense, I'm going to start the appointment this way every time. I'm going to marry. Most people fill this out for one of 3 reasons. The first reason is they don't have any coverage, so they're trying to get some. The second is they have some coverage in place, but it's not enough and they need to get more. And the third reason is they have everything they need. They just want to leave more money behind for their kids and grandkids. Mary, which one are you? Why? Because if Mary goes, I don't have any insurance, I need to get some, my answer is going to be perfect, Mary. That's the reason why I'm here today, right? Yeah. If she goes, hey, I have some insurance, but I'm trying to get more. Perfect, Mary. That's the reason why I'm here today, right? If she goes, I have everything I need, I'm just trying to leave more money behind for the kids and grandkids. Perfect, Mary. That's why I'm here today. Our clients can't buy insurance without us. They can't. They don't have a life insurance license, right? They have to get it through an underwriter, a licensed underwriter, a licensed insurance agent. That's us. And so like right then and there, I'm establishing why I need to be there. That's the reason why I'm here today, right, Mary? Okay, got it. Mary, how young are you? She's 67. Got it. Are you currently still working? Are you disabled or employed? Whatever she says, I'm just going to go through the financial inventory. When I ask the questions on the financial inventory, the problems will pop up on its own, right? If I get to the beneficiary information, I'm going to go, hey, Mary, if something were to happen to you, who's going to be the one that picks up the pieces when you pass away? My son, John. Got it. Mary, if something were to happen to you right now, would John be able to pick up the pieces on his own? She says no. I go, that's why you fill out the form, right? Because you don't want to make sure that when you pass away, you want to burden John. Is that correct? Right? You'll notice also, I ask a lot of rhetorical questions that the answer I already know ahead of time. And the answer is yes, right? Because why else would I ask the answer? Or why else would I ask a question that I don't know the answer to, right? So in the financial inventory, which is the third key, the third step, this is what I need you to jot down. Okay. When you ask the health and finance questions, do not interrogate your client, make it conversational. Okay. I'll give you an example. Let's say, for example, Jermaine's on this call and I'm sitting down with Jermaine. I go, all right, Jermaine, Jermaine, how young are you? I'm 72. Are you working, retired, or are you disabled? I'm retired. What did you do for work? I drove the city bus for 30 years. Okay. Are you getting a Social Security pension or both? I'm getting Social Security. How much do you get from them, Jermaine? Like, y'all feel how awkward that is? Right? And then the other part is like when we get to the health questions, this is some of y'all literally. Hey, Jermaine, have you ever had a heart attack? What about a stroke? What about congestive heart failure? What about cardiomyopathy? What about any anginas, any stents put in place, any defibrillators, any AFibs? And it's like any cancers, any tumors, any aneurysms. Are you diabetic? Have you had insulin shock? Do you have any complications? Any neuropathy? Are you taking pills? Are you high blood pressure? And it's like you're interrogating them. And it's really, really awkward, right? So this is a small tip. Don't interrogate your clients. Have a conversation. Okay. So this is how I do it. This is how I would do it if I were you. I would go, all right, Jermaine, how young are you? I'm 67. Awesome. Hey, are you currently working? Are you retired or are you disabled? I'm retired. Cool, man. What you used to do for work? Oh, I drove buses for the city. Okay, awesome. So, hey, because of that, are you collecting Social Security or pension or both? Oh, just Social Security. Got it. What do they send you every month? Oh, $1,750. Perfect. Okay, great. Hey, do you currently have any insurance? And I'm just going through the questions like it's a conversation, right? When I get to the health questions, this is how I'm going to ask. I ask the health questions like this every time. I go, all right, Jermaine, hey, I'm going to ask you some health questions. Some of these can be offensive, but I have to ask. If not, I lose my license. Okay. So bear with me. Number one, have you had any heart issues like heart attack, stroke, cardiomyopathy, congestive heart failure, anything like that? And usually if they say yes, I'm going to jot it down right then and there. If they say no, I'm going to go perfect. So like no anginas, no stents put in place, no angioplasties, no bypasses, right? He goes, no. I go, perfect. What about like stuff with like cancer? Have you ever been diagnosed with cancer, received treatment for cancer? No. Okay. What about like aneurysms, any tumors, anything like that? No. Got it. What about for like breathing, like asthma, COPD, emphysema, right? I usually go about 3 to 4 conditions at once. I'm not going to go one at a time every single time, and I'm not going to read them off 15 at once. I've seen clients literally do this, by the way. I think it's foolish. They go, hey, Kayla, have you ever had a heart attack, stroke, cardiomyopathy, congestive heart failure, angioplasties, stents put in place, bypass? And I'm like, dude, they can't even hear you. And if they say yes, when do you stop? Right? So slow down, 3 to 4 at a time, make it conversational. Okay. Don't interrogate, make it conversational. Second point, your financial inventory is going to establish the reason why your client needs you. Okay. Remember, I told you when I was 0 for 14, when I didn't sell any insurance, Joe said 2 things. Number 1, you don't have any structure. Number 2, the clients have no reason to buy. The financial inventory is going to give you a reason for why they need to buy insurance. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're sitting down with a husband and a wife when it comes to final expenses. I'm going to go, hey, Bob, if something were to happen to Mary, would you be able to pay for the funeral and burial? He's going to say yes or no. Hey, Mary, same thing. If something were to happen to Bob, would you be able to take care of it? No. Got it, Bob, Mary. That's the reason why I'm here today, right? Is just in case something were to happen to Bob, Mary, you don't want Bob, you don't want Mary to be, doing GoFundMe's and trying to raise money to pay for your burial, right? Right? Got it. That's the reason why I'm here. Let's say I'm doing mortgage protection. Let's say I'm sitting down with, Steve, and Janelle's a stay-at-home mom that takes care of the kids, which is a way harder of a job, by the way. I go, hey, Steve, so, you make a 6-figure income. Janelle, you're a stay-at-home mom with 2 kids. Hey, Janelle, let me ask you a question. If something were to happen to Steve, would you be able to take care of the mortgage payments and the utility bills? No. Got it. So like paint a picture for me real quick. Like let's say the CHP officer knocked on the door right now and said that, hey, Steve just got in a horrible car accident coming home from work. What would you do? She'd be like, I don't even know. Do you have like an emergency savings fund? Like how long would you be able to take care of the mortgage? I don't have any money, Steve. I'm a stay-at-home mom. Got it. So Steve, that's the reason why I'm here today, right? Is to make sure that if something were to happen to you, Steve, Janelle will be taken care of. Right. Okay. Got it. You see what I'm doing? Like I'm establishing a reason why they need the thing they filled out. Okay. Let's say you have an income household that they have a 50-50 income. Husband makes $4,000 a month, wife makes $4,000 a month. Most people go, oh, those ones are great because the mortgage is $2,500. And so if Bob dies, Mary can still pay the mortgage. Yes, she could, but her life is harder. You know why? She went from living on $8,000 a month in income to $4,000. She's got slashed in half. And then now 60% of her income goes to the mortgage without utilities being paid. And what about food, groceries, car, everything else? You know what I mean? So your job is to be able to establish a reason why, and doing the financial inventory, that question will pop up on its own. You'll go, oh, that makes sense. If something were to happen to you, you wouldn't be able to do that, right, Mary? Got it. Okay, that's the reason why I'm here today. We're going to get you taken care of, right? So that's what we're going to do to establish the reason why our clients need us. Number 3, collecting beneficiary information. Here's what I can tell you. Most brand new agents, and it's not a bad thing. It's just the difference between being a veteran and being someone that's brand new. It's just a lot of reps, right? Word tracks in our business is a big deal. I can get the same thing that you're trying to get, but I'm going to ask it in a very non-threatening way, a very passive way that the client's going to feel obligated to give it to me, compared to when you ask it, they might go, why do you need that? Right? So beneficiary information is very important. Here's what I can tell you. A lot of brand new agents do this. They go through and they go, hey, Ignacio, who's your beneficiary? And it's like so direct and blunt, which I am. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there's a better way to ask for that question. I'll give you an example. I go, hey, Ignacio, if something were to happen to you and you didn't come home from work, obviously this beautiful house that you live in, who would you want the house to go to when you pass away? Oh, my daughter. Oh, my son. Oh, my spouse. Oh, my, significant other, whatever it may be. Got it. What's her name? What's their name? Right? What's his name? Oh, okay. Your daughter, Juliana. Okay, perfect. So I'm assuming if something were to happen to you, you would want to leave this behind for Juliana. Am I correct? Yes. Okay, great. Now for the rest of the presentation, I'm not going to say, hey, so with this plan, you'll leave $200,000 to your beneficiary. I'm going to say, hey, with this plan, you're going to leave $200,000 to Juliana. Why? Because I'm going to make it personal for him. Right? And so the way you ask that question can be different. And there's a lot of questions that you can ask in a different way to get that answer a lot easier. I'll give you an example. Some people struggle getting Social Security and banking information. Here's what I'm going to tell you. If you make it a big deal, it's going to be a big deal. Right? Like some people, when they call leads and they go, hey, Jordan, this is Steven. I'm calling from the Senior Benefits Center, getting back to you about the form you sent back in to pay for your funeral and burial expense. He goes, I don't remember filling it out. And some of y'all go like this. You go, well, it was like a pink card you got in the mail. And, you wrote it with your hand and you put that you were 64 and you even signed it. The way you write the J, you have like the hash at the top and everything. Like some of y'all do that. Right. And now it's a big deal for your client because they're like, wait, did I do that? Did I not do that? Sometimes the best way to overcome objections, the best way to get information is by minimizing it. If it's not a big deal for you, it's not a big deal for them. So like, for example, like if I'm running, if I'm same situation, I call Jordan, I go, hey, Jordan, this is Steven, getting back to you about the form you sent back in, blah, 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 blah. He goes, I don't remember filling it out. I say stupid stuff like this all the time. I go, that's funny, not a problem. Hey, I don't even remember what I ate for breakfast this morning, but it looked like you put your date of birth as this. Is that right? Why? Because if I minimize it and it's not a problem for me, it's not a problem for Jordan. The same goes when you ask for critical information in the sales process, right? When you go, some people are like this, Jordan, what is your social security number? And they're like, why do you need it? Right? Because it's awkward now. While I'm going to go, hey, Jordan, what's your social? And I'm just going to look down on the computer, or if I'm not there, he's just going to tell me. Because it's not a big deal, right? Banking, same scenario with banking. Some people go, all right, so now we are pre-approved and we got to get your banking information to send to the insurance companies. So, Jordan, what is your routing number and account number? That's what some people do. And the way I do it is we go, hey, Jordan, who do you bank with? Chase, got it. So I have their routing number. It's like 322-271-627. What's your account number? By the way, you can find any routing number online because it's all the same, right? Account number is what you need, right? But you see how we're asking the same thing. We're asking for the same thing, but we're doing it differently. And so those are the little small tweaks that I want you guys to understand, right? So collecting beneficiary information, instead of just flat on asking who the beneficiary is, ask them like paint the picture of the benefit and go, who will be the one that receives that, right? Hey, if something were to happen to you and you passed away, who will we pay off the house for? My wife, Janelle. Got it. Okay, so I'm assuming if something were to happen, we're leaving all the money with her, correct? Yep, awesome, right? So put that down. Another part in the financial inventory, if you're doing virtual sales, I would definitely ask this question. If you are doing face-to-face, you don't have to ask this question because your clients are not going to struggle. But one of the things I would say is hey, John, do you receive text messages? And do you know how to operate an email? Because if they say no, then you are very limited with the amount of insurance carriers you can work with, right? Like a lot of our clients, especially the senior ones, they don't know how to operate an email address, or they don't know how to operate the email signature with some of the carriers we have because it's so hard and thorough, right? So maybe we got to use Aetna, where we go, hey, you know, what city were you born in? What's your mother's maiden name? And that's the signature process, right? So asking some of those questions ahead of time is going to prevent that objection later on, okay? So once again, part one, right? Step number one, who you are, why you're there. Step number two, we're setting the table. Step number three is the financial inventory. Okay, now we're moving on to step number four. Step number four is real simple. It's underwriting. Okay, here's what I'm going to tell you. You don't get to pick and choose which company your clients get insured with. You know why? Because it's based on their age, health, and finance. And so like so many people, like I love Americo, I love Aetna. But if a client had a medical condition or they take a specific medication or they had a height and weight issue where they couldn't qualify for that product, I can't slam Americo or Aetna down their throat because they have to go qualify with Prosperity or American Amicable, right? So once you take all the health information down from the client, there's three ways, or actually, yeah, there's three main ways that you can underwrite, okay? Most of you, if you're on this call, you're probably in our base shop. You can ask the questions in our Telegram group. Hey, y'all, by the way, like there's a lot of people that do it, so don't feel like it's you know, you're the only one. People go all the time, hey, I have a 64-year-old male. He's 5'10", 200 pounds, and he takes these meds. Where am I going? And usually someone responds very quickly, right? The second thing you can do, that we have a Discord server, right? It's a free app there's something called an underwriting genie, where there's people paid to literally answer your underwriting questions, right? During normal business hours, right? That's not a bad way to go to. So you type the same thing you would type in Telegram into Discord. Makes it easy, copy and paste it. The third thing that you should do, in my opinion, call your manager, the person that hired you and recruited you, that brought you on, because most of the time they would understand. Like, for example, if you're brand new and you work in our team, like that's what I would do. I would go, hey, Steve, I'm sitting down with Bob. Bob is, 67 years old, takes these meds. Where do I go? And I'm going to go here. It's a 30-second conversation, right? So you don't have to study the product guides. You don't have to study the underwriting guides. Use Telegram, use Discord, use, your manager to help you underwrite in that process. All right. So, and that's all free. It doesn't cost you no money, which is great. So that's number four. Number five is where it gets fun. Okay. Number five is where it gets fun. Number five is the options. Okay. I'm a big 3 options guy. I only show 3 options. I don't show 4. I don't show 2. Sometimes I show 2 if I feel like it's just so much easier to show 2. But like 98.5% of the time, I'm going to show the client 3 options. Why? Because people want selection. It's what it is, right? So here's what I can share with you about options. Number 1, you're going to have to explain the features and the benefits. What a lot of people do when they get options is they do this, right? Like Thomas is a stud and he's on this call. Thomas doesn't do this, but I'm just going to use him as an example. Thomas would be sitting down with Mary and go, all right, Mary, for $20,000, it's $152 a month. For $15,000, it's $120 a month. And for $10,000, it's $84 a month. Which one do you like? So he's literally just speaking coverage amounts and prices at her, right? Once again, that's what an amateur would do. I wouldn't do it that way. If I'm doing final expense, I'm gonna share with you how I do it. I go, okay, all right, Mary. So with this plan, you're gonna leave $20,000 to John. Once again, it's to John, not beneficiary, right? Because I'm gonna make it personal for her. All right, Mary. So with this plan, you're gonna leave $20,000 to John. 15,000 of that will pay for the funeral and burial. It should be plenty enough. The other 5,000 you'll leave as a gift to John. So you have a total coverage amount of $20,000, and you get that for $152 a month. Okay. Option number 2 is going to be for $15,000. So the nice part about this option is it's a lot more affordable, and it's what most of our clients get, right? Most of the clients in your situation, Mary, take this plan. But for $15,000, what you're going to get is John will be able to have the entire funeral paid for. And it's a lot more reasonable within your price, but you're not going to be able to leave any money behind for John. So it's just enough to pay for the bare bones, the funeral and burial, and there's no burden left on John. Okay. And you get that $15,000 policy for $127 a month. I don't know, whatever, right? You see, I'm explaining the benefits. The third option, Mary, is $10,000. Now, would you agree with me, Mary? Something's better than nothing, right? So although the funeral costs $15,000, if you left him $10,000, at least it's easier for him to raise or come up with $5,000 than it is for him to come up with $15,000. Would you agree with me, Mary? Yes, I would. Okay, perfect. So with this option, you're not going to just get, it's not going to pay for the whole thing, but it's going to pay for at least 2/3 of it. And you get this for $82 a month, right? You got to learn how to explain the options. You got to be able to take the life insurance lingo and break it down to layman's terms, right? Like let's say you're doing mortgage protection. A lot of people, man, they go, hey, you're gonna get $200,000 in coverage, and there's $200,000 in terminal illness, critical illness, and chronic illness, and it's a 30-year policy, and it's a cashback option policy that's for $67,000, and the premium is $200 a month. Dude, that like went way over their head. You know what I mean? One of the best tips I can give you when you're speaking to your clients, especially when you're explaining options, use terms that everybody understands. Use terms that a 5-year-old would understand, right? So like for me, when I explain cashback option or return of premium rider, I don't say those words. Why? Because those are insurance words. I'm going to go, hey, Mary, if you don't die, this policy is going to give you all your money back. Like, would you agree with me? A 5-year-old would understand what that means. Yes. Absolutely, right? When I explain whole life, hey, Mary, this plan lasts forever. How long does it last, Steve? Forever. It lasts forever. Why? Because that's your whole life, right? It's going to be permanent. It will never change. The death benefit will never go down. The premiums will never go up, right? I'm not going to say, oh, it's going to be a 5-year renewable band that goes up in premium. No. The death benefit will never go down and the premiums will never go up. Speak in terms that your clients understand, right? Hey, this is a term product for 25 years. Hey, Mary, in 25 years, the coverage will no longer exist. It'll end after 25 years. Like simple terms, okay? Step number 6, closing question. This is the money question, okay? There's 4 steps in this. Or there's four little key points in this. What a lot of rookies do is they go, all right, Mary, option number 1 is this covers this amount, this price. Option 2 is this, and this is the coverage, and this is the price. Option 3 is this is the coverage, this is the price. All right, Mary, out of the 3 options that I showed you, which one do you like best? Like they go right into closing immediately. That's a rookie mistake, okay? What I can tell you is ask one more question before that. So let's say I explain the options. Option 1 does this, option 2 does this, option 3 does this. And I pause for a little bit and I go, all right, Mary, do you have any questions about what I just showed you? Why? Because I'm concerned about her. You know what Mary's expecting at this point? Usually what most of your clients are thinking, they're thinking you're going to close them right there, but you're not going to do that. You're going to be a human being and you're going to ask them, hey, do you have any questions about what I showed you? Here's what I can tell you. 75, 80% of the time, the answer is no. Good. At least I asked. But sometimes they are. Sometimes they're going to go, wait, Steve, so you're telling me I'm covered forever? Yeah, this is going to cover you until you're 121 years old. You know why, Mary? Nobody lives that long. So it's going to cover you forever. Wait, Steve, you're telling me that if I don't die, they're going to give me all my money back? Absolutely. It's a provision inside the life insurance policy, and it's written in the contract. So when you don't die, when you're 67 years old, you get all your money back, right? I'm just using that time to clarify for our client what we're doing. After I do that, and I go, do you have any other questions, Mary? No, I think I basically get it. Okay, great. This is my closing question. This is how I sold over $1 million worth of insurance in 3-4 years, whatever it was. I said, out of the 3 best options that I showed you, out of the 3 options that I showed you, Mary, which one do you like best? That was my closing line. Out of the 3 options that I showed you, Mary, which one did you like best? Here's what I can tell you the breakdown is. 80% of the time, they chose the middle one. 15% of the time, they chose the cheapest one, which was the 3rd option. And then 5% of the time, they chose the most expensive one. Here's what I can tell you. I don't care. I'm not the one paying for it, right? When you list, another key point, when you're listing out your options, most expensive all the way down to the least expensive. Some people go least expensive to the most. I wouldn't do that. Nobody in sales does that, right? You always go top down selling, right? So some people ask the question this way. I know Colton Dewar, one of our top producers in our entire company, he goes, hey, if you could qualify for one of the products, which of the 3 would you want to get qualified for? Once again, remember I told you it's not a script per se, but it's just the components, just the guideline, it's the structure. So what I did was, hey, out of the 3 options that I showed you, which one did you like best? They chose something, right? If your client is struggling on making a decision because they're in between 2 of them, have them usually choose a cheaper one. That's how I sold a lot of insurance. So like, let's say I had a client that was between option 1, option 2. I would go, hey, Mary, I know you want the bigger coverage and the more expensive coverage because you want to be able to leave more behind for John. Well, let's do this. Most of my clients, write that phrase down. Most of my clients in your situation, most of my clients in your situation do this. Most of my clients in your situation do that. Most of my clients in your situation is the phrase. Why? Because most people want to do what everybody else does, right? So if they're struggling between option number 1, which is $200, and option number 2, that's $150, here's what I always tell people. I go, hey, Mary, this is what we're going to do. Most of my clients in your situation, we're going to apply for the middle one. And then what happens is I'll give you a call back in the next 2 to 3 months. And if your situation is still exactly where it needs to be, we'll supplement and get the rest at that moment. But I'd rather you get something that you can afford now so you don't bite off more than you can chew. People ask me all the time, like, how did you have such a good persistency and not have very many chargebacks? By doing that, by talking people down in coverage, not to the lowest coverage, but like making them understand that I wasn't a sales guy, that I was literally just trying to get some coverage in place for them so that if they died, their family's not screwed. Now, if they can obviously afford option number 1, dude, we're getting option number 1, right? So write that phrase down. Most of my clients in your situation, this is what they do, okay? This last step is very important. This next point within closing question. Once again, you got to guide your clients, you got to lead them somewhere, and you got to tell them what you're going to do. A lot of people don't do this, and this is the reason why they get social or banking objections during the application. Okay. What I say is this. I go, hey, Mary, out of the 3 options that I showed you, which one do you like best? The middle one. I go, perfect. What we're going to do is we're going to submit an application to the insurance company. They're going to ask you for some basic info like your name, date of birth, social, banking, and your beneficiaries. And I give a slight pause. If they have no pushback, I proceed because I just gave them the thing that most people are scared of, which is social and banking. Here's what most rookie producers do. They go, hey, so what we're going to do is we're going to submit the application and we're going to need your social and banking today, okay? And they're going to be like, no. Why? Because those 2 pieces of information very pertinent. It's a big deal. But if I blend it in with name, date of birth, beneficiaries, and I put it right in the middle, it's not that big of a deal. Hey, what we're going to need is we're going to submit the application to the insurance company. They're going to ask you for some basic info like your name, date of birth, social, banking, and your beneficiaries. Okay. She goes, okay. Dude, I'm starting the e-app right then and there. Right. So it's not that difficult. Number 7, we're almost done. We're rounding out. Number 7 is the actual application. Here's what I can tell you. If you're doing virtual sales, it gets really awkward when it's silent or you're loading the application or you're logging into the carrier or doing whatever you're doing. So the best thing you can do is narrate the process, or this is where you build rapport. I never built rapport early on in my presentation because it was fake and the clients knew it was fake. I built a lot of relationships or my rapport here because I had a lot of dead time and dead air, right? So like, for example, let's say I'm opening up the application and I'm going, all right, Mary, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to log into my secure server and we're going to pull up the application right now. Okay. Mary, remind me again, where were you born? Illinois. What state were you born? Illinois. How'd you end up in Nevada of all places? And she's going to talk about that for the next 30 seconds or a minute while I'm doing the application. Name, Mary, last name, Smith, date of birth. I already have that information, right? And then when I need to ask for the pertinent information, I'm go, Mary, 1 second, real quick. Hey, what's your social again? And then she tells me, and I go, got it. So you moved from Illinois to Nevada because your dad got a better job here. How do you like Nevada? And I'm right back into the application. Right. So that's like $1 million nugget right there. Because a lot of people make it awkward during the application. So build rapport during the app. It allows time for the applications to load. It can allow time for you to ask questions for help if you don't know what you're doing. Some of the questions that I asked to build rapport, if you even want to call it that, where were you born and how did you end up in the current state? The where were you born question is a big deal because your carriers are going to ask you that in your application. What state was your client born in, right? Hey, how long, if they're married, hey, how long have you been married? How'd you guys meet, right? If they've been married for a long time, a lot of final expense clients, senior mortgage clients, they've been married for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. I say stuff like, what's the secret to having a successful marriage? And they're going to tell you, right? Even people that got divorced, I would ask that question, which is hilarious because I just wouldn't do what they said, right? Hey, Mary, oh yeah, my third husband, oh shit, you've been married 3 times? Yeah, got it. What do you think the secret to marriage is? She would tell me, and I'm like, cool, whatever she says, I'm not listening to that, right? But it was a time and place for me to allow her to ask questions and make it seem like I did want to know, but I was working, right? And then how long have you lived in the state and do you like it out here? Those are simple questions that I ask clients all the time, right? So the last part, we're rounding up. This is tip number 8. It's 5 pieces in here. 6, no 5. 6, sorry, okay? Number 8 is called seal the deal. Now the client's purchased the insurance from you, okay? Now what? There's actually steps because what happens is a lot of people close business and they don't close the deal properly and agents come behind them. Your client doesn't know any better. They cancel it because they can't get a hold of you, whatever it may be. So there's 6 things that I do in this process, okay? If they got approved by America or whoever immediately, I'm going to say, hey, congratulations, you've been approved for coverage. If it was sent to underwriting, I'm going to go, all right, Mary, so we submitted the coverage like we said we were to the insurance company. They're going to take 2 to 3 days to run their medical background check and give you a final decision. And then when they do, I'll give you a call myself to let you know you've been approved or not, okay? That's what I say. So that's the approval process. The second thing is the policy details. I'm going to go, all right, Mary, so write this down. The name of the insurance company is Aetna. Policy number is ACC 12345. Okay. Your monthly premium is, $72.52 for that $15,000 in coverage. And your first payment is going to come out on the 2nd, 2 days from now, or, 3 days from now, whatever it is. I'm going to tell them those 5 things of information. Why? Because it's important, right? Some clients, some agents, horrible agents, they put clients through and they don't tell them when they're going to get drafted. And then the clients overdraft their bank account, or they go, hey, when's it going to come out? Oh, soon. Not a good enough answer, right? It's your client for life. You should basically be able to give them that. So C, the third thing hey, Mary, by the way, your policy will be in the mail the next 7 to 10 business days. If it doesn't come in the next 7 to business days, give me a call. I'll call the carrier myself and have them overnight you another one. Okay. And then the other thing too, Mary, is once you get your policy and you're reading through it and you don't know what it says in there, call me. We'll go line by line and make sure that you're comfortable with what you have. Right. I do that. Here's what I can tell you. Out of the, 3, 4, 5,000 client or few hundred clients that I have, no one, like one person's called me to actually go line by line with them on it. That was it. Right. But I just want to say it because I want the client to feel comfortable with me. Right. The fourth thing, hey, Mary, I'm going to be your agent for life. This is my direct line. This is not my office line. This is not my work phone number. This is my direct line. If you need to make any changes to the policy, if you need to change the payment date, if you want to change the beneficiary, add more coverage, decrease the coverage, whatever it may be, give me a call. I'm your agent for life. Right? Why? Because I want them to know that it's not like a one-night stand where I'm going to be done with them today and I'm not going to remember about them tomorrow. I want them to know, like, hey, save my phone number, lock it in your phone, give it to your children, whatever it may be. When something happens to you, because it's when, not if, when it happens to you, your kids should call me. Right? If you want to make changes in your policies, you should call me. Right? And then last two things is, hey, if another agent calls you and says that they're my supervisor or my manager, just know that they aren't. I'm the guy that runs this area here. So I am the manager here. You're going to have a lot of agents try to get in touch with you and basically try to sell you more insurance. Just tell them that you already got it taken care of. And if they decide to bother you some more, call me and give me their number. I'll make sure that they stop. Right? You'll be surprised how many people call me throughout the years and go, hey, Steve, I just got a call from another guy that said he was your manager. I was like, absolutely not. God, yeah, I told that guy to F off, but he was trying to come over and like basically sell me more insurance. Yeah, you ain't got to worry about all that. What you have is way better than anything else in the market can offer. Right? What am I doing right there? I'm basically strengthening my persistency and eliminating chargebacks. Right? And then the last thing I always tell people is I go, all right, Mary, if you know anybody that can use some insurance, feel free to, hand my number out to them. I'll take care of them just like I took care of you. Hopefully it was seamless and smooth. I'm going to send a picture of me to you in your phone if you receive text messages. Thank you for letting me protect your family. And if there's anything I can do ever, please give me a call. Just know I'm one call away. Right? And I hang up right then and there. That is my presentation from top down. As you can see, I'm not doing anything different or I'm not doing anything special that you guys can't do. But what I can tell you is if you can follow a structural piece, then your life is going to be so much easier when you actually meet with the clients, right? Because it's the same every single time, right? Remember, your in-home presentation, your sales presentation is a Broadway show. The only thing that changes is the audience, not the actual show, right? So if you understand those 8 key components, I can guarantee you, some of you guys are listening to the call, you go, man, I don't do that well enough. That's the reason why that happens, because I don't do that right. When I work with brand new agents, I can usually pinpoint their mistakes to their no sales to one of these things. Got it. You're not explaining the benefits properly, whatever it may be, right? So if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or the Q&A. I'll answer them now, but if we don't, I appreciate you guys for hopping on and listening. Hopefully this helps. What I can tell you is this business is not very deep. If it required you to be a comedian or if it required you to be funny or have personality, a lot of the top producers in our company wouldn't be here. Just being honest with you, right? This business is literally kind of like what I shared with you earlier, is having leads and appointments and having enough at bats to understand the structural pieces of what you're doing in the home, right? To be able to make sure that you can guide the client properly. And then the other thing is establishing a reason why you have to be there and why they have to use you, right? If you can take care of those things, this business makes it so much more easier for everybody. All right. So I appreciate you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. If you're not in our Telegram group yet, reach out to me or the person that invited you on this call. We'll get you in there. But that's where massive communication occurs. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Be blessed. I'll see you at the top.